All right, guys. Coach Flex, Dr. Howard. How do you pronounce your last name?
Chen, C-H-E.
Chen.
Yeah.
Howard Chen? Because on your calendar it said Chen.
I know.
I was like, wait, is it Chen or Chen?
Yeah,
So I was like,
I don't know.
did I make a mistake?
It's me. Half the time I hit the wrong button when I'm typing.
But anyways, Doc, hey, thank you for being here, man. If you can kind of state your background again, real quick.
Sure. Let's see. So I'm a physician. My specialty is family medicine, but over the years I've transitioned to integrative medicine, and which basically means kind of not only Western medicine, but also combining kind of Western herbs. But I also trained as an acupuncturist, and so I put in a lot of Chinese medicine to my stuff as well. My favorite thing to do is actually acupuncture. Western medicine is a little bit less interesting to me.
I love it. Where's your clinic at located?
So I actually used to have a clinic in Reno, Nevada, but I moved up here. I moved up here actually so I can go to actual non-physician Chinese medicine school. I already went through kind of like the physician side of like Chinese medicine,
right?
But I spent a lot of time teaching acupuncturists, and then I'm always surprised about the things they don't know, the things I think they should know, and so I decided to take myself to Chinese medicine school so I can understand better what they're learning, so I can teach them better. And plus, obviously, there's physicians learn a very specific subset of Chinese medicine,
right?
But of course, it's not the whole thing because Chinese medicine is huge. So it's like I need to learn more anyway. So.
Right. Awesome. So before we recorded, we were talking about another alternative thing that I'm doing with another naturopath. So let's finish our thought process in that, and we can move on to some other stuff, right?
Sure. Yeah. So I think we were talking about muscle testing.
Right. Yep. Muscle testing. Yep.
And then, so muscle testing is, like you're saying, it's kind of like sometimes you hold out your arm and like, if the substance is good for you, you can like resist it. But if it's not good for you, like your arm comes down, right? Sometimes people do like the O-ring test. Like, it's like, if this is good for you, then you'll have a strong finger here. But like, if it's not good for you, like it'll just pull right through, right?
Yeah.
And so you asked me whether or not...
like, what are your thoughts on it? We'll keep it PC, right? When we're not recording, we might deep dive into some tangents.
Yeah, sure, man. I mean, I think the important thing to know is that some things work for some people and other things work for other people, right?
Well put.
But if we look at the science, at least as far as like I was just mentioning about a year ago, I did kind of like a pretty thorough review of the science behind muscle testing, or let's say it slightly differently, the research behind muscle testing. And it wasn't really that impressive, meaning that there wasn't so much research that said that this is a very reliable method.
Right.
And from there we jumped into what about, how do you feel about randomized controlled trials?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think randomized controlled trials are super useful, but they're useful in a specific subset. And you have to understand that Western medicine is very excited about finding the single active agent of just about anything, right? It's like, okay, so if we look at, aspirin as an example, the single active agent may be salicylic acid, at least we think that's it, right? But of course, the problem is that the real world isn't just one thing. It's like, it would be like saying that like, you got huge muscles because you did squats.
Right, exactly.
Right, I mean,
it's
like
holistic.
Right,
There's
exactly.
other things like core strength.
Exactly.
Recovery, mobility, the whole thing. Even nutrition comes into play.
Right,
I like where you're going.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or like it would be like saying like it's like I'm a great athlete because I did a lot of squats because I could squat like 400 pounds. I mean, like, it doesn't mean you're a great athlete. It just means like you have this very specific ability, and a lot of Western medicine relies on like this concept that like there's this one thing that causes the benefit, whether it's that one drug or that even that one supplement that causes this benefit or doesn't.
Right.
And real life isn't like that.
Okay, so a randomized controlled trial or study isolates that one factor versus looking at the whole. Is that kind of how you summarize it?
And of course, obviously, like over the years, they figured out how to look at multiple different factors and kind of the interplay of multiple different factors. But a lot of it is still based on how many different factors can you think are affecting this thing. Right, and a lot of those things are things that we can easily see, like such as, does this person have high blood pressure? Does this person have diabetes? Does this person, are they male or female, or how much do they weigh? Things like that. But we don't really talk about, because it's difficult to quantify such things as, do they have a good relationship with their partner? Or like
but other stressors in their life.
Yeah,
you know
exactly,
what I mean?
right, exactly. It's like, and or do they, I don't know, enjoy the food that they're eating?
Absolutely.
Right, it's like they're eating the right stuff, but
are they enjoying it? And thus, like, how are their cortisol levels? And again, if your cortisol levels are high, blood sugars go up, insulin goes up.
Exactly.
Your fat burning gets stunted. So it's like,
right.
And I think that's why keep going though. Keep going on like kind of your thought process on. Because we're on randomized control trials still.
Yeah,
and, like,
sure.
How we feel about it, because there's a lot of doctors out there, like they'll rebuke like a claim because like show me the randomized control trials. Studies, right? I hear that all the time. You hear that all the time on YouTube.
Absolutely.
And it's like, so is that always the case? And we talked about the placebo effect earlier as well, right? So it's like, should that always be the case?
Oh man, don't get me started on the placebo effect. But there's a lot to talk about there. But,
right.
But I mean, the truth is that when you have a randomized controlled trial, it looks at a very specific population that you decide to look at.
Right.
And this is the study population. And these days, of course, we try to broaden the study population. Like we try to get male and female. We try to get like different ethnicities, different ages, and things like that. And theoretically, you can control for all those things. But the results of the randomized control trial are very specific to that specific population. Right. And so it's very difficult to, in some ways, generalize the information.
Because you have that subset in that lab at that time, whatever conditions they were at that time, it's hard to replicate that.
It's absolutely hard.
So then how can you say that's for everybody? Right. See, that's also my gripe with randomized control studies and all these other studies that are done in the lab. Even though as much as it can be controlled and like even double blind, triple blind, whatever, right?
Right, exactly.
It was for those people though.
It was for those people.
Right? With whatever conditions they went into. Because even like we talked about earlier, like were they happy that day because something with their wife? Or hey, are their financials on point? So it's like, are they going through some kind of stress? It's not really about the study, it could be about their outside integrated life. So man, I love where we're going with this. I don't know where we're gonna go with this, but I guess the outcome is because I don't know if you knew this, Doc, but we have a coaching program at our gym, right?
Yeah.
And I hate saying gym because we're more of a transformation center.
Sure.
Who we are transformation coaches, right? We want to see how we can help you integratively across all the spectrums of your lifestyle.
Right, of course.
It's not just training.
Yeah.
It's what's your recovery, your mood, your mindset, your sleep, your nutrition, your stress levels. A lot of it impacts what our hormonal levels, our hormonal balance, right? And there's also other things too, like even your spirituality impacts this whole situation with your physicality, right?
Absolutely.
And your emotional health, mental health. And I guess my angle is I've always thought that health and wealth go hand in hand, right?
Sure, absolutely.
And you got to have that yin and yang balance, and I feel like they infinitely bless each other, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The more health you have, the more ability you have to go towards doing things to build your wealth.
Sure.
And the more wealth you have, the more you can do things, because health is expensive, let's be honest, right?
Health is expensive.
High quality food is expensive, right?
It is.
Organic food, grass-fed, regenerative animals, wild animals, wild berries, organic berries.
It's not easy to get.
It's not easy at all to get that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't think about the quality of what they're putting in day out impacts their quality of their muscles, how they ingest and absorb the nutrients, the nutrient profile of a certain fruit, certain vegetable, right? Yeah. So for folks that are like wanting to budget on what they spend on food, like it may be the cheapest amount, but you just put quantity inside of it versus quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to go after the high quality to extract the best nutrients. I mean, I grew up farming. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah,
I grew up in a small farm. Shout out to all the farmers out there, man. It's a tough profession. Dude, like down to the point, like we had garlic farms, right?
Yeah, okay.
And how garlic works, man, is you had to plant them in the fall. You had to break the bulb up to every damn clove. Okay. Imagine staring at acres and acres, dude. Like, man, I gotta plant all this.
Yeah.
And I was like in my teens, man.
That's
like,
a lot of effort.
Dude, it's manual effort. You're in your hands and knees, putting every dang clove, dude. Acres and acres. You're like, is this ever gonna end?
Yeah.
So that's in the fall, right? So you have to weather the storm through the winter, the snow, and then the spring, and then you gotta water it, and then by the time end of July, and June comes around, end of June and July comes around, that's when you harvest it. And the way you harvest it, you have to take a tractor to loosen up the dirt. Once the dirt is loosened up, you gotta pull every damn thing out of the ground, shake all the dirt off, let it dry in the sun. And then once that drying process is done, you harvest acres after acres, dude.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
But like 50 acres to go, man. You know what I'm saying?
That's a lot.
And then you got to put it in a drying warehouse, and then you got to brush off all the dirt. So imagine the nice polished white garlic you guys see, guys. Yeah. It does not start like that. It started on my hands and knees in the fall, clove by clove.
One at a time.
Is that crazy?
That's
Has anyone
crazy.
ever told you the process of garlic?
I have no.
Now you'll never forget, bro.
Yeah.
When you look at a white piece of garlic, you're like, damn, Flex planted those joints, clove by clove in the fall.
Time. Damn.
Is that
6
crazy?
months ago. 10 months ago.
Maybe 7. Yeah, like because you go from September.
Yeah.
Or it's like September all the way to June, July, bro. That's crazy.
Wow.
About 9 months process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like having a baby.
It's absolutely. So when I stare at a piece of garlic, I appreciate it so much, man. It's like there's a labor of love right there.
Absolutely.
So man, rest in peace, man. Both of my grandparents, especially on my dad's side, like learning that process, dude, and having like instilled going through all that labor. That's why I work so damn hard today.
Well, yeah.
And you reap what you sow.
Sure, absolutely.
There's an aspect of patience, right?
Absolutely.
There's an aspect of nurturing. There's an aspect not just harvesting, but you go from the planting all the way to nurturing.
Yeah.
If you understand that process, you apply that towards your life, bro. That's one of my main things. Is like go to a garlic farm.
There we go. It's just like being a
farmer.
know
what I'm saying?
Yeah, you gotta be your own farmer.
Absolutely,
for your own
man.
Health.
Absolutely.
And you're growing your own health.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what you're
So
working
I know we're getting deep, bro. This is the first time we're ever had this type of conversation, but I appreciate like what the stuff we're talking about right now so much already, man.
Sure, man. Absolutely.
Another thing too that I spoke to you about is we have our own supplement company, right?
Oh yeah.
And what I did this last weekend, shout out to Dr. Chandler Heyer. He's a naturopath. He was a biochem major at UW.
Yeah.
He graduated from Bastyr.
Yeah.
We went ingredient by ingredient, dose by dose, and we went through like the pros and cons of what that does and what the active ingredient does to enhance another ingredient to give you the impact of like a pump, a neurotransmitter, a dopamine sensor, endurance activator. Those are the things that we went pretty deep on our pre-workout, which is one of the first supplements we want to roll out with. And we rolled it out in a small scale here in a few stores in Hawaii, because one of my business partners lived in Hawaii, in Oahu. But now we're getting ready to go on a massive scale nationwide, working with, you've probably seen some professional athletes come through here. Football players, NBA players, celebrity DJs, fighters, skateboarders. It's a lifestyle company. And when Dr. Chandler and I, we picked apart the pre-workout, just that alone, but we also have protein, plant-based protein, mind you, because I'm back to being, I hate saying plant-based, I also hate saying vegan.
Sure, man.
And my reasoning is because like vegetarian at its root, bro, it's things that vegetate. But vegetarian has been bastardized, meaning now you got the lacto vegetarian, which is what, milk and veggies and fruits, and then you got the ovo vegetarian, which is the eggs, and then you got the pescatarian. So it's like, guys, just call it what it is, man. Let's leave vegetarian alone, because I'm out here saying I'm flexitarian now, making up my own damn thing. You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's in some ways there's an argument for flexitarian, or just kind of eating all the different things.
All kind of different types, right? And not being too dogmatic about one certain paradigm.
Right, exactly.
And me, man, being freaking extreme that I am, like I've gone extreme on both sides, polar opposite. So I've done the whole keto, like carnivore, 100%.
Sure.
Without any variation. I'm talking about not even doing anything that has like any kind of vegetable connotation at all. All the way to extreme like fruitarian, where I only went 100% fruits. And man, I'll tell you pros and cons on both, maybe another like podcast or video like this. But where I found to be the best is in the middle. Always in the middle, right? Use strategies across all these spectrums, across these different nutrition approaches to come up with your nutrition game plan and your strategy that suits you as the individual. Right? I see way too much dogma out there, and I see a lot of so-called gurus putting people in very dangerous, precarious situations, including myself. I fell to the trap of the keto carnivore thing and kind of fell into the marketing thing. I caught myself being dogmatic. I was like, what the hell am I doing, man? You know what I'm saying? And
A lot
then
of people
after
do
that,
that.
bro,
Yeah.
I shifted to like the back to like the if it fits your macros thing.
Yeah.
And then I found like these fruitarian folks in that movement. And I bought into the dogma. And
You
me,
went down
man,
that pathway, yeah.
once I go into something, I go deep and I want to understand the
can
hell
tell,
out of it.
yeah,
I want to go
yeah.
100%. I want to do that so I can get the trial and error and like see if it's going to benefit me and benefit the clients that we work with.
Sure.
So now, man, I'm back in the middle, dude. Whether you want to call it flexitarian
Yeah.
or just vegetarian, right? And through the muscle testing,
Yeah.
I found out that so many things I was consuming, I'm like either allergic to or it's not helping
It's
my
not
body.
doing, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now I get to eliminate all those things because I know that it's not doing right for my body. So it's like, I want to do, even though if it's real or not, there's something there. There's some merit to it.
Yeah, sure.
And again, even with the placebo effect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If I can get a 1% edge on something, I'm gonna try it, doc. That's how crazy I am. That's how extreme.
Well, I mean, if you put a bunch of 1% together, maybe
Yeah.
you get a few percent.
boom,
Right?
and that's the thing with having all these strategies, right? 1% here, 1% here. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
you just by applying those strategies, you're making a 40% impact.
Yeah.
But that's better than not doing any strategies alone, or only a
It
couple of the
maybe.
strategies, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But what's your kind of your outlook on like nutritional strategies, stuff like that, like with your background, and even for yourself and any
Sure.
clients you work with?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's really important to. Let's start with this. I think that this flexitarian idea is pretty good.
Right.
Because the body, we have to look at all the different things
Mm-hmm.
about what's good for you, as an example. So let's just pretend that, I don't know, fish is really good for you.
Right.
And so now I'm just going to eat fish all the time.
Right.
But the body really likes to have a variety of
Mm.
things. I'm not
Mm.
saying like that gives you a free license to have
Mm.
like, bad stuff.
Right.
Right. But on the other hand, it's like, let's pretend that you have millions of different types of bacteria in
Mhm.
your gut.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
And some of those aren't so good for you.
Right.
Some of them are good for you. But you got to feed a bunch of them.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
almost like having like a million kids,
Mhm.
and you can be like, all right, so this kid likes this particular food. This kid likes this particular food. If I only just have, let's just say pizza,
Mhm.
for the rest of my life, I'm only going to make one kid happy.
Right.
I kind of got to make all my
Everybody
kids
happy,
right?
right.
Everybody's got to get
Yep,
happy,
yep.
because the happier the bacteria are in the
Mhm.
gut,
Mhm.
then the better things are going to work.
Absolutely, man.
So this whole flexitarian idea is really
Damn,
good.
I love that, dude. That's such an amazing like analogy or example, because I see too many diets where it's so not diverse, right? From a bioavailability perspective, from
Yeah,
a
sure.
micronutrient profile perspective,
Right.
and it's like, yeah, you might be hitting your macros, your macronutrients, your protein, fats, fibers,
Yeah.
carbs, alcohol.
Right.
But it's like, what about your micronutrients, right? If you're only concerned about your protein content,
Yeah.
you go back to quantity again,
Right.
without quality. And
That
I
is
feel
true.
like I see more and more people with digestive issues.
All
They
the
get
time.
bloated,
Yeah.
right? And like even in the bodybuilding world where
Yeah.
they overeat on stuff, next thing you know, the stomach is distended because of a lot of bloating.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And couple that with water and other liquids you're putting in, and maybe some, I don't know, let's just be real, like some performance enhancing drugs, like the
Sure,
whole
of course.
impact
Yeah.
could be detrimental to the individual.
Absolutely.
So I guess, man, going back, like staying in the middle, being flexible, being flexitarian, I think it's the key, man, because then you get that variety, diversity, which goes back to your gut
Goes back to
microbiome,
the gut,
your gut
exactly.
flora, right? And like you said, man, it's like we got trillions and trillions of bacteria,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
How many trillions? About 30, 40 trillion?
Yeah.
Something-
More
probably more.
bacteria than cells in our body.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? And it's like our bodies are controlled by our bacteria. So if you're not
Crazy.
feeding the
Yeah.
army of bacteria you have, you're
Exactly.
just putting yourself in all kind of dangerous positions.
You are.
And your longevity is going to be in question.
That's
what I'm
very
saying?
true, especially if you're only feeding a specific
Right.
type of bacteria.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and so that combined with the concept of inflammation, I think
Mhm,
those
mhm.
two are some super powerful
Mhm.
and very important things to think about.
Absolutely, man.
Right.
Absolutely. So back to like the gut, right? When you're
Yeah.
first born as a child,
Yeah.
in the embryo, what's one of the first things that get developed?
Actually, it's one of the first things is the heart. Actually,
Right. So the heart. What else? What else?
I mean, I'd love to say it's the brain, but that
Uh-huh.
takes a little bit longer.
So it's the heart, the gut.
The heart, the gut, the circulatory system.
Yep.
Exactly.
So like think about how critical that is, right?
It is.
If that's one of the first things being developed,
Yeah.
but then as we develop as into adults, adolescents, and all that, we start neglecting the gut. When it was such a critical like life force to begin your life with. So
absolutely,
man, that's why like I see way too many like paradigms or approaches where that gets gets ignored in a way, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we completely forget about it, and then we start to think that the things that we're eating are good for us, and not necessarily.
Right.
You know, one of my favorite things to think about in general is that when we talk about bodybuilding, talk about getting huge as an example, right? It's like, are you huge because you're eating all the right stuff, you're getting all the right exercise, or are you huge because inflammation is causing an enlargement of, it could even be the muscles.
Everything.
Right, exactly.
Right.
It's like, do you actually have muscle in there in your
or is
big
it just
bicep?
Inflammation?
Or is it just inflammation?
Dude, that's deep right there, man.
It's an interesting question.
Right.
Because you can eat all kinds of crap and get big.
Right. That's crazy, man. So it's like, how do you tell if there's a concept of quality muscle versus just like mass.
Right,
you put
exactly.
On. You know what I'm saying?
Right, and as you well know, sometimes the biggest guys aren't the strongest guys.
Absolutely.
Right? They look good, but that doesn't mean they can lift anything.
Yeah. That's a really good point. But also too, like some of the biggest guys don't have like the most beautiful muscle bellies.
Right. That's true. That's true.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, okay, you look big, but when you flex, I'm not seeing any fibers coming out of the muscle. So is that inflammation or is that true muscle?
That's
Holy
really good
smokes,
question.
man.
And the same, like if we look at the typical strongman competitions, right? Are those guys the most cut guys you've ever seen? No, they're not really.
Right.
They're kind of like guys with like a little bit of dad bod, but they're huge.
Right.
They're not cut, but they're still able to lift more than anybody else.
Absolutely. I mean, bro, like right now I weigh about 150 this morning.
Wow, that's craziness.
Look, okay, so here's me natural, right?
Yeah.
Not flexing, then boom.
Right.
Like, shit, man. Yeah, I'm not massive, but the quality of the muscle, like all the fibers you can see.
You can see all the things.
You can see all the damn fibers, right? But that's the thing. It goes back. I love that point, man. It's like, does the tissue you're putting on, is it because, or the size that you have, is it because of inflammation, or is it quality muscle?
Right.
But then it's like, how do you test for it?
Ooh.
Can you just go by look, feel? You see what I'm saying?
Right. Well, in some ways you can't really even know without, let's say, getting into the blood.
Absolutely.
So without